Hello everybody, my name is Sarah and welcome back to Future Zoologist Academy. Today, for our lesson, we'll be discussing the largest feline in the entire world and an animal who was once voted the world's favorite animal. Today, we're learning all about tigers. Let's get into it. Tigers are a species of big cat that are native to several countries in Asia and one nearby island, Sumatra. Even though there is only one species of tiger, scientists have long debated exactly how many subspecies of tigers exist. Sometimes, when we have one species of animal that lives in different places and they're separated from each other, we start seeing little differences in their traits and their DNA, and we often call the different groups subspecies. Historically, scientists have identified 9 different subspecies of tigers, but recently they've made a couple changes. And now we only identify 2 subspecies of tigers, but we still use some of those same names that you might be familiar with to describe the different populations, such as the Bengal tiger, or the Sumatran tiger, or the Siberian tiger, which we've also recently renamed to the Amur tiger. The different populations of tigers live in many different kinds of habitats. The Sumatran tiger, who lives on the island of Sumatra, typically inhabits warm tropical rainy forests, whereas some of the other populations are more commonly found in temperate forests or mangrove swamps or even savannas or grasslands. The Amur tiger, who lives furthest north, lives in cold mountain forests. Now, as we mentioned before, tigers are a species of big cat, and they're very closely related to the other big cats, including lions, jaguars, leopards, and snow leopards. And even though they're all pretty big, tigers are the biggest. They are the largest species of feline in the world. Males tend to be larger than the females, and their size does vary between the different populations. For example, the Sumatran tiger is the smallest, and a large male weighs about 300 pounds. Now the Amur tiger, who we said lives in those cold, snowy forests further north, they are the largest, and a large male can weigh more than 600 pounds, which is twice as large as the Sumatran tigers. As a very large cat, tigers can hunt some very large prey. And like most cats, tigers are carnivores, meaning they are meat eaters. Exactly what they like to eat does depend on where they live, but some of their common prey items are things like deer and bovine, wild boar and ground birds, and lots of other medium to large prey. They've even been reported hunting some very large prey, things like Asian elephants and greater one-horned rhinos. Tigers are able to hunt and catch this prey because they are ambush predators, meaning they are sneak attacking their prey. They rely really heavily on their colors and patterns to help them camouflage or blend into the environment. Tigers use a type of camouflage called disruptive coloration, where their stripes, their pattern, helps to break up the outline of the tiger's body and makes it kind of hard for other animals to see exactly where they are. A lot of the tiger's prey also has very limited color vision, so they're not seeing the bright orange the way we see. All the colors are a lot more similar, kind of muted and blended together. Tigers are apex predators in their habitat, meaning they are the top predator. They have no natural predators of their own. So their camouflage's main purpose is to allow them to sneak up or ambush their prey. Once tigers get close enough to their prey, they attack. They usually grab their prey by the neck and use their heavy body weight to pull the prey down to the ground. Tigers are solitary. They primarily live and hunt alone, which does sometimes make hunting a little bit more challenging, but also means that they don't have to share their food. And tigers, they really don't like to share their food. Once they make a kill, they usually drag their prey somewhere away, somewhere that's hidden, maybe in dense vegetation. They want to make sure that tigers and other predators don't steal their food. And they do share their home with quite a few other predators. They share their home with dholes and leopards, wolves, and bears that are all in competition for the same resources. Not only do tigers not like to share their food, they also don't like to share their space. Tigers are very territorial, meaning they have a territory or an area that is all theirs, and all of the resources in the territory are also theirs. And to let other tigers know, hey, I live here, go away, they mark their territory with lots of different things. They use urine and scat to mark their territory, or scratches. They may do some scent rubbing, and of course, vocalizations like roaring. Exactly how big a tiger's territory is depends on many different factors, including is the tiger male or female, how much food is available, and even things like what's the season. Males typically have larger territories than females do, and they very rarely ever overlap with another male's territory. But they might overlap with female territories, and that provides them breeding opportunities. Females are not receptive to male tigers all year. In fact, when they are, there's a very special pheromone or chemical that's in their urine, their pee, that tells the males, hey, I'm in the area and I'm looking for a mate. Males detect these pheromones using something called the Flehmen response, where they kind of curl up their upper lip, kind of looks like they're snarling a little bit, but what they're really doing is collecting scent particles on their upper lip, which is going to give them a better idea if there's a female in the area and if she's looking for a mate. Tigers mate year-round. They can breed at any point during the year, but female tigers usually only have litters about every 2 years or so. Males and females separate after breeding because they're solitary. Remember, they live alone. And females do all parental care. She usually gives birth to her cubs somewhere a little bit more protected, like in tall grasses or other dense vegetation, and she'll keep her cubs hidden in that vegetation for about the first 2 months of their life. She can have up to 7 cubs in a litter, but 2 to 3 is much more common. Like we just said, females are completely responsible for caring for and raising those cubs. Once they get a little bit older, it's also her job to teach them how to hunt and survive on their own, because after they're about 1.5 to 2 years old, they're going to go off on their own and find a territory of their own. Young tigers are very vulnerable, but if they can survive to adulthood, it's possible that they could live to be 15 to 20 years old in the wild. Now, unfortunately, not all tigers live their full lifespan because they face many threats in the wild caused by humans. And today, we're going to explore 3 of those threats. We're going to start with habitat loss. Habitat loss is a term we use when people build cities and farms and roads in a wild habitat, and we take that space away from animals. We make it harder for them to find food when we do that. Not only are we taking space away from the tigers, but now we have people living in very close proximity to tigers, which creates some problems of its own. I think we could all agree that a tiger cruising through your neighborhood would be very concerning. So one way that scientists are working to reduce the problems of habitat loss and tigers is by tracking their movements. We use special radio collars to see exactly what part of the habitat they're using so that later on, when we're building new cities, farms, and roads, we can build those in places that are not frequently used by tigers. A second threat that tigers face is called retaliatory hunting. And this usually happens, again, when tigers live too close to people and they eat domestic animals because we've moved their natural prey out of the environment. Tigers commonly prey on things like sheep and goats and sometimes even domestic pets, and that can make people very unhappy. So tigers are often hunted for revenge or in retaliation, kind of as payback for killing our domestic animals, but also to make sure it doesn't happen again. So one way scientists are working to reduce this problem is by building tiger-proof enclosures that ranchers can put their goats and their sheep in to keep them protected from tigers so that there isn't any hunting because none of the livestock have been killed when they're in these protected enclosures. The third and final threat to tigers that we're going to talk about today is poaching. Poaching occurs when a wild animal is illegally hunted or taken from the wild. And the main reason why tigers are poached is for trophies. People want their fur or their teeth or their claws kind of as a souvenir. So scientists are working to stop poaching by working with local communities in Asia to kind of patrol the forest, to make sure that there's nobody in the forest who's doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. We're also working to put more laws and surveillance practices in place so that we can monitor and stop the sale of tiger products, like their teeth and their fur. It's clear that scientists are working hard to protect tigers and to monitor their populations. In 2023, the Global Tiger Forum estimated that there are 5,660 tigers living in the wild. And that number could grow as long as we continue these conservation efforts. There are ways you can help. There are many zoos in the United States and other countries that participate in captive breeding programs for some of these endangered tiger populations. You can actually help tigers by visiting those zoos who are working to conserve the population in captivity using these breeding programs. You can, of course, also make financial donations. You can donate some money to help scientists get the resources and employ rangers who are going to patrol the forest to also help keep tigers safe. All right, you guys, that does conclude our tiger lesson. Thank you so very much for joining me today. If you'd like to learn more about tigers, their conservation, the threats they face, or if you'd like to do quizzes, activities, projects, and so much more, please be sure to click that link below to visit our website, and I cannot wait to see you at our next lesson. Thank you very much. Bye!